Welcome back. Cheta Nwanze, the lead partner at SBM Intelligence, is joining me right now from Lagos. Mr. Nwanze, good to see you. Welcome to the program.
Good morning and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. Let's get started because we have quite a lot to discuss. National identity number. Do you have yours? Let me start from that. Mr. Nwanze, do you have your national identity number?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Okay. Do you have your national identity number? Let's start from there.
Yes, I've had my national identity number since 2019.
Okay, since 2019. So I suppose you did not join the rush that we saw. Okay, how
No, I did not.
important?
I did not join the rush.
Okay.
I like to think that I'm a good citizen.
Okay, so how important do you think that this national identity compilation is, especially compilation and management, I must say, especially to national and policy planning, economic planning? How important is national identity?
Now, the national identity number theoretically it's very important. It gives us a basis for planning. One of the things that I fear about our country is that we don't know, for exactly how many we are. You can do monitoring and evaluation at goods. Unfortunately, I think that in terms of implementation, like so many other good ideas that we have in this country, we have botched it.
So, do you think that we're handling it with the seriousness that it needs? And do you think that Nigerians, as citizens, we do know the importance of why everyone should have a national identity number?
Unfortunately, no. I don't think that the average Nigerian citizen has been properly informed on why this is very important. Like so many things, the advocacy part of what should have been done was missing. And what we simply had was the command and control kind of hand-me-down, oh, do this. And you expect everybody to fall in line. It simply doesn't work that way. So unfortunately, no, I don't think that Nigerians are properly informed about the benefits of the national identity number.
If we take a look at some countries where their national identity number or that kind of synchronization is being observed, countries like the United States come to mind. The social security number that was introduced or established in 1936. And why they did that is to have the histories of U.S. workers. When benefits comes, government will be able to know who to give the benefits. What significant difference do you see between Nigeria and some other countries like the US and even New Zealand that have, I think New Zealand's own is Internal Revenue Department number or something, they call it. So what significant difference do you see between Nigeria and these countries that I have spoken about?
Well, the difference is in honesty of implementation. Let's start with that most basic thing. So in the US, as an example, every citizen at birth is assigned a social security card, a social security number, which is an 11-digit number that goes around everybody. Your social security number follows you for life. In the UK, you have the national insurance number, which also follows you um, wherever you are. And it's not just citizens that have it; it's also residents. So you have these numbers that these countries use to basically track people, identify who is eligible for benefits, make sure that they get the right benefits. And it's also tied with things for taxation purposes. But the crucial thing is that there's a symbiotic relationship. So because you have those numbers, you know that there are benefits that you can get from the states for being a part of the states, being a part of the country, being a citizen or a resident, somebody who contributes. In Nigeria, on the other hand, it's seen more of as an inconvenience, and something that the country uses to, for want of a better word, to chase those who are already in the tax bracket. So those of us who are already captured in the formal system keep getting piled up with more and more, we've had this current national identity number is, I think, the fourth iteration. Remember that under Obasanjo, for example, we had two different occasions where we all had to line up to get one number or the other. One of them, the most infamous one, run by Sajem, which never came to a conclusion. So when you have all these botched attempts, these failed attempts, it only ends up leading to loss of trust. So people, as an example, and I will not shy away from giving the hoopla surrounding the person of the Minister for Communication and Information, Digital Economy, whatever is the title nowadays. There's a trust deficit that has become an issue. And many people who had not registered for the national identity number before then suddenly are looking and asking, why does this guy want all these details? So one of the things that we need to invest significantly in as a society is closing that trust deficit. Otherwise, these systems will never work. And then we need to also invest significantly in project management. And investments here doesn't always mean money. We need to invest significantly in project management to make sure that we see these projects through. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any. And look at the current NIN thing. I think this is the fifth postponement that has happened with it right now. So you keep postponing the end of it. You just can't see it through, and then you expect people to just trust it. It doesn't work that way.
Mr. Nwanze, let's stick with the postponement a bit. Do you think that government should be postponing and postponing and postponing the deadline? Or do you think that it should still be an ongoing stuff that anyone at any time can just go into the office of NIMC and get the national identity number?
So there are certain things, such as the national identity number, which you shouldn't have hard ends to it. It's something that in reality should be continuous ad infinitum. Again, going back to the social security number example, at birth, an American citizen is given a social security number. When people come into the country and get work permits, they are given social security numbers. So why should we be saying, oh, for national identity number, you have to there's a date, there's a hard stop. The hard stop does not make sense. Conversely, because the reason, one of the reasons that we have these hard stops, because we've tied it to all sorts of things. Said that we want to link it with BVN, we want to link it with this, where you must have a national identity number before you can get a SIM card. So something that ought to be simple, we have made it complicated. And as a result, we've tied ourselves up in so many knots that we're trying to untangle. And that in itself is problematic.
Now, if we critically look at this national identification number, if we want to analyze it well, do you think that it will solve some of these issues, such as management issues that we have? Is Mr. Nwanze, are you still there? Do you think
yes,
that
I'm here.
Yes? Do you think that it will solve the identity management issues that we have? Because government on its part has said, okay, that this is very important and very significant as we have insecurity challenges and what have you. So with even a national identity number,
I wouldn't say definitely that the national identity number will solve these issues. I would say that it can help towards solving those issues. And it's important to make those distinctions. It can help towards does not mean, because the way it has been presented, which also in itself is problematic in terms of communication, is it has been presented as if it is, oh, everybody having national identity number will suddenly end terrorism. It won't. Everybody having a national identity number will help towards creating a more comprehensive database that you can match and compare and make inferences from. What people need to understand is that all of these things ultimately are hard slog work. Investigation, whether it is of terrorism or your garden variety crime, involves mixing and matching different databases. It's not something that you just snap a finger and suddenly the solution is there. Again, another very important part of nipping this whole terrorism thing, cutting it down, is honesty in finding and punishing culprits. So we have a situation where we don't have any of the people who are paying for weapons for terrorists. We have low-level terrorists that we've caught and arrested and detained ad infinitum. But the people who are actually spending money to keep them going, we've not brought any of them to book, and we think that national identity number will solve that. That is an honesty problem. It's a problem of rank dishonesty. So until we solve that particular problem, it doesn't matter whether we change it from a national identity number to national number of identification to security number identity. It doesn't matter whatever name we give, we'll still be back at square one.
Mm. What do you think about government's plan to tokenize the 11-digit PIN of the national identification number for us to have digital tokens or virtual NINs? I don't even know if many Nigerians are even aware of it in the first place, you know?
For me, it's neither here nor there, to be honest. When I first read it, the thing that first came to my mind was, maybe they've run out of paper to print those slips. I haven't even gotten my card, by the way, just for the record. So consider this to be a public complaint. So for me, it's neither here nor there. Whether it's digital, what really matters is the number. It's not whether you have a card or whether you have a digital slip. Do you have the number? Do you have it saved somewhere? Is it in a single government database that can be cross-checked and cross-referenced wherever you are? That's the way it ought to work.
Are you, from what you're saying, is it that the government should continue to print paper? Is this not a step in the right direction since the whole world is going digital and your technology is enabling all sectors? I didn't say that the
government should continue to print paper. I said that changing is neither here nor there. That's what I said.
So are you in support of the digital tokens? Are you in support of the digital tokens? I'm not getting that clear from you.
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay, you're not in support of the digital tokens. Then what would you rather it should be?
I believe everybody should have a national identity card, a physical card.
Okay, a physical card that looks like the PVC. Is that all like your ATM card? Something like that?
That kind of thing, yes.
Oh, okay. The question right now is that since the government has extended the deadline to March 2022, do you think
they will extend it again?
Okay, do you think that many Nigerians will get on board? Because the last data that I saw as to how many Nigerians have NINs, 71 million people.
71 million.
Yes, as of 2021. And we're 200 million people, including children and co. So do you see that? Do you think that this extension?
No, Nancy, I'm just playing with you. This is a part of what I talked about earlier. Because there has been there hasn't been an attempt to carry the population along. Instead, we've just had this command thing, go and get your NIN. What you do is you persuade people, you carry people along, you make them understand the benefits, you invest in advocacy so people will get it. But as long as they keep persisting on these backing orders that people go and get your NIN, do this, we'll keep. So maybe by the end of March, we'll have just 72 million people with NINs, and then they will extend it again. But I can assure you, as clearly as I'm sitting down here today, March will not be the end of this thing. They will still extend it.
You're saying that Nigerians do not really understand the concept of why they should go queue up to get their national identification number. Do you think that perhaps they've not been able to connect that nexus between, if I have my NIN, what are the benefits? We did say earlier, like in the United States, you know what the benefits are, for example.
That's what I said earlier.
Yeah,
yes, most Nigerians at the street level, many people whom I have spoken with, they don't see any benefits. For many of them, they only see it as, okay, let me at least have one ID card. For many who, for example, so as an example, we did a survey in Anambra just before the election. And for many of those who already had a national identity cards, they didn't bother to register for PVCs. For those who didn't have NINs, they went for PVCs. For them, it's an ID card either way, they don't care. And those are the things the government needs to invest in proper advocacy so that people will understand the benefits. And then the process itself needs to be made a lot easier. It's already very complicated and very stressful as it is. And people don't want that. You have people who probably earn maybe 1,000 naira a day, and you want them to go and spend 6 hours of that day in a rowdy place trying to get registered for NIN. It's not going to happen. So these are issues that people really need to look at.
Are there really benefits to have the NIN, really? Speak to my viewers about it. If you have yours, I have mine. Are there benefits to go key up and get your NIN? Are there really benefits? Some may say, what does it add to my pocket?
I think we're going around in circles now, because earlier I talked about,
no,
I think we're going around in circles now, because earlier I talked about
Mr. Nwanze,
it's beneficial to the country as a whole, in terms of planning, in terms of ability to make projections, and in terms of ability to monitor outcomes. So that is a benefit for everyone already. Having said that, as an individual, it's also beneficial for you if Nigeria develops a proper social welfare system for the population of the country. It will be beneficial for Nigerians to have a number so that they can access benefits whenever, as an example, they're out of work, or whenever, if, for example, we eventually get around to running the NHIS properly, whenever they need such service. So those are benefits that identity number can bring. But, and I'll keep, the but is always very important, but if we run it properly.
Now, you said earlier that I was going around the circles. I think I wasn't going around the circles. What I wanted you to expatiate on are the benefits.
So we're going around, we're going around on eggshells?
No, what I wanted you to expatiate on are the benefits to individuals. For example,
I didn't hear you, Nancy.
Okay, no, what I wanted you to be clear on, to be open about, some of the benefits to individuals, not really as a government, which you have just talked about. Like in the United States, for example, the helicopter money that was being shared last year were shared to people also based on their social security number.
That falls under benefits.
Yes. So that was why I wanted you to come out openly to talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah. Now let's take a look at the linkage between even a BVN and NIN. BVN, 11-digit number, NIN, 11-digit number. The banks have successfully done that. Are there lessons that we can really learn? And a lot of people have also been saying, why don't we have a harmonization of data? For example, Mr. Nwanze, are you there and can you hear me?
No, honestly, I think that that's BVN and NIN. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Go ahead, please.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please. Yes.
Yeah, I said, in all honesty, I think that, in all honesty, I think that both BVN and NIN are a duplication. It's largely the same sets of data that are collected. So since we had BVN, and to a large extent we had already done that successfully, there's one thing that you learn from economic history is the fact that by the time you link things with finances, then you give everybody incentives to comply. So the BVN was probably the only BVN and the KYC for the telcos are the only two mass number collection exercises that we've embarked on that we're seeing through. So I think that what needed to really happen was just essentially convert BVN to a sort of national identity number. This thing of having BVN, and then I think that was where we missed the boat. We could have used BVN as the national identity number. It's the same thing. It could be used for the same purpose. It's basically about having a database.
Okay, if your argument is that we should use BVN as the national identity number, how about for those that are financially excluded? Because the BVN are for those that are financially included. So how about for those that are financially excluded? For NIN, for example, they can just walk into a center close to them and they get registered. They may not have a bank account, and they are captured in the database.
Yeah, my retort to that should we not be aiming for a society where we have financial inclusion?
But the question is that our financial inclusion objective has not been met. It's been shifted now to, I think, 2025. So between
So the argument can be made if that is if that is what we want to do. The argument can be made that, oh, the same way we've not met the financial inclusion objectives, we haven't met the NIN objectives, which is why again I'll reiterate, we have now postponed the whole NIN exercise for the fifth time. I mean, by the time you start having 5 postponements, you have to accept that something is not being done right.
let's take a look at the body NIMC managing this. How do you think that this agency has done, really? Very objectively, how do you think
Uh,
it has done, bearing in mind the resources that is
um,
also accrued to it?
I'm not too much of a fan of NIMC. I think that they could have done a lot better. But I'm not going to knock them because like so many other organizations, they are victims of a system that's is already working against them from the get-go. So I think that within the fact that they've been dealt a very bad hand, they have tried their best, and that's me deliberately being nice.
So do you think that an agency such as NIMC should exist, bearing in mind that we have an Orosoye report, for example? The federal government, I think, said in 2020 that it has the intention of cutting down some agencies and all of that. We've not really heard anything about that. Whenever government says it, it goes silent again, perhaps to keep some of us quiet. But what do you think? An agency like a NIMC should still exist, or should there be like an independent body or handled by private sector, just like the banks are doing the BVNs?
What I think should have ought to have happened is that we ought to have had a situation where there's a body such as NIMC. It doesn't have to be NIMC itself. I mean, the National Population Commission, for example, could be the supervising body. And then you now give it to the private sector to do the actual deployments and actual work. At the end of the day, I think one thing that we have seen consistently in this country and pretty much the world over is that when you give stuff to the private sector to run, they tend to run it a lot more efficiently because they have, for a start, a profit motive, and they are not as motivated to lay about and waste time. Giving everything to government people who don't have any incentives really is always a hiding to nothing. So what is happening with NIMC and the rest of them should not be a surprise. And again, there's so much duplication. Um, as you rightly mentioned, the Oronsai reports tells us that when we have all this duplication, we are only basically throwing money. And considering the fact that Nigeria as a country has been having a budget deficit since 2010, if memory serves me, we ought to be looking for ways to cut unnecessary duplications in our spending habits.
Now, let's take a look at some of the costs that have gone into this national identity project. I
Pardon
do,
me?
yeah. Let's take a look at the costs that has gone into this national identity project. I know that the World Bank, there was a loan for this national identity project by the World Bank in the tune of about $433 million, I think for 2018 or something like that. What do you think? Because a lot of people have said that this is just like a waste, but the World Bank, for example, thinks that the National Identity Project, the digital one, is very necessary and very is key for us as a nation.
Frankly, I didn't hear anything you said. It
Oh,
went mute. I only just saw your mouth stop moving.
okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay.
I can hear you now.
I was asking earlier, let's take a look at the cost, because I do know that sometime in 2018, there was a strategic roadmap that was approved by the Federal Executive Council, the World Bank, a loan of $433 million in 2018. So if we take a look at the cost, what has gone into this National Identification Number project, has it been money well spent, really? And I guess that NIMC will still be looking for more money.
No, unfortunately, I would put it solidly in the batch of no, it's not money well spent. Again, one of the things, the most fundamental things about loans is that you need to ask, how will you pay it back? And given that you have to pay it back, what is the cost benefit of that loan? Have we taken a loan that is not going to benefit us, is not going to improve our productivity and then our ability to raise funds to take it back? I think that having all these postponements and the fact that this project has more or less, you can put it under the category of stalled. I think that in itself tells you everything you need to know.
You know, if we're still looking at this NIN, at least we have 71 million Nigerians that are in the database now, and we do know that a lot of bad things, horrible things still happen around fraud. There is national identification number, there is BVN. A lot of Nigerians are still being defrauded on a daily basis, but it seems that even having this kind of data is not solving those problems. Problems, security, Boko Haram, criminals, fraudsters and all of that. What kind of steps and actions can we begin to take that we have these numbers right now? Can we begin to trace some of these people that do these horrendous and horrible things to fellow Nigerians and even not Nigerians?
Again, it comes down to having that database, using it properly, and we must talk about data protection, by the way. But I'll get on that. Having this database, using it properly, and then being able to enforce. I can't help myself but to circle back to the terrorism angle. A few years ago, the United Arab Emirates arrested some Nigerians, told us who they are, and from Nigerian end, everything has just been mocked. That tells you everything you need to know about the kind of behavior towards these kinds of situations. There's no point having all of this data if you are unwilling. I'm using my words advisedly here. No, I didn't say unable, but unwilling to enforce. Now, in terms of the database, there was one of my problems with NIMC and the Nigerian system generally is that it tends to be reactive, not proactive. So I'll give an example. A few days ago, there was a claim by somebody that he had hacked the NIMC database or something. NIMC put out a statement that said it was not possible. Now, NIMC is accredited under ISO 27001, 2013. So I believe that they've met the right standards to maintain that accreditation. But having said that, that reactivity rather than proactivity is a problem. It's a problem that we keep coming back to in terms of the way we handle government-related activities in this country. We need to be proactive about securing our databases, about doing stuff, about counting Nigerians, about knowing where Nigerians are. We need to be proactive. We need a complete mindset shift.
Now, let's stick with a bit of data protection, which you did talk about, data privacy issues and all of that. You know, many Nigerians are also skeptical in terms of how can people come or ask me for
good reason.
Yes. How can people ask me for certain information? I'm not willing. And we see that modern day technology has, you know, moved from where it used to be in terms of even on site to cloud storage. I don't know what NIMC is up to right now in terms of how do they even store this data. Cloud storage at least is a bit secure and safe.
I think I don't think that in a Nigerian context, I don't think that that is a technical issue. I think that is a human issue. And I'll give an example. A few weeks ago, during the holiday period, a young lady who, Mutupo Dele, ran into some problems in Kenya. And at least on social media, there was a furore over whether the Nigerian establishment should help her. And what I remember very clearly, or one of the things I remember very clearly, was somebody who works in the Nigeria Diaspora Commission, where I think that's the name of that organization, putting out on social media some of her details, as in I think her passports, a snapshot of her passport and all of that. Now, that is the kind of thing that makes the Nigerian not to trust his data in the hands of Nigerian government officials. So in that respect, one of the key things that we need to look at in terms of data protection is the human error and punishing people who, for political differences or whatever, go out to break data protection laws. We have a Cybercrime Act. Data protection ought to be a thing. But we have these things where people basically behave like hooligans because they have access to information. It shouldn't be.
How about, because you said earlier that you're not necessarily a fan of NIMSI, how about thinking really this way, that because of this NIN project, perhaps a few jobs have been created, because I also do know that NIMSI, not just public agents, they also have private agents that do some of these things. Are you just going to throw away the baby and the bath water?
I'm not a fan of throwing away the baby and the bathwater. What I'm saying is that everything should be consolidated and we should protect our data protection.
Okay. Any other thing you have to say, Mr. Nwanze? Just in a few seconds.
Not really. Just it's been a long time that we spoke. So once again, compliments on season. Happy New Year and keep shining.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nwanze. It's so nice to also speak with you. You went on a roll, you're back. I hope your studies went well. I hope you passed. You came out in flying colors. And I'll talk
You're
to
welcome.
you. I'll talk to you soon. Happy New Year too. Thank you for coming up on the show. Thank you. All right, I've been speaking with Cheta Nwanze, who is the lead partner at SBM Intelligence. We've been looking at the national identification number, the national identity database. If you haven't gotten your NIN yet, please do go get it because the deadline has been extended to March 2022. Don't be caught in the rush again. Be the best you can be and be the change that you want to see. I am Nancy Naji. I'll see you all again tomorrow, God willing. Join us on all our social media platforms. Let's continue the engagement there. Bye now.